Her favorite thing that she baked was apple pie, and should I say, it's my favorite thing that she baked, and I would give everything just to have her send this apple pie to Canada. But hopefully in the future I would still have the opportunity to try that pie and come back to my roots.
That's all for this week. Today's episode was reported by me, John Chipman. It was story edited by Julia Poggle. A version of this documentary originally aired on the Sunday Magazine. Storylines is produced by Craig Desson. The show is part of the CBC Audio Doc Unit. You're listening to Storylines on CBC Radio 1 and on your mobile phone wherever you are via the CBC News app. I'm John Chipman. Thanks for listening.
This is CBC Radio 1, 990 AM, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg.
We carry a world of information in our pockets because we want to know. Breaking news that shapes our world. Staying on top of stories around the globe. And connected close to home. It's news you can trust. Delivered when you want and where you want on Canada's News app. Now with CBC Radio 1, local and live. Download the CBC News app for free.
You know the feeling of finding a really good podcast? Or the feeling of someone always being there, like your favorite radio show? Stream CBC Podcasts, CBC Music, and CBC Radio anytime, anywhere. Download the CBC Listen app for free.
This is CBC News. At 12 o'clock, we're at 16 degrees with mostly cloudy skies over downtown Winnipeg. Good afternoon. I'm Matt Humphrey. Manitoba justice officials say they will not lay charges in a fatal bus crash last year. 15 seniors died on the scene when the bus they were riding in collided with a semi-truck on the Transcona highway. 2 died later in hospital and 8 were injured. Karen Pauls has your details.
It was the deadliest crash in Manitoba history, but criminal charges will not be laid, even though dashcam evidence showed the minibus crossed into the path of a semi-trailer which had the right-of-way. RCMP Superintendent Rob Lassen is in charge of major crime services.
Police are unable to speak to the bus driver, nor do we anticipate being able to speak to him based on medical reasons. We cannot prove that that choice that day was a result of anything criminal.
Chris Vanderhooft is a Manitoba Crown attorney. He says there's no evidence the driver was on the phone around the time of the collision.
Due to the blind spots in that vehicle and when he may have looked in that direction, did not see the semi-truck traveling eastbound.
Vanderhooft says the driver was properly licensed and trained and had no drugs or alcohol in his system. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham and his inner circle agreed to give the real estate arm of the organization owning the Winnipeg Jets more time to decide whether to buy Portage Place. The Executive Policy Committee held a special meeting to vote on the extension this morning. The CBC's Cameron McLean reports.
True North Real Estate Development will have 3 more months to exercise its option to buy Portage Place. It's considering purchasing the downtown mall for $650 million, but it asked for an extension before embarking on a multi-year redevelopment that includes a medical tower and apartments. The city's senior manager of economic development told the Executive Policy Committee there is nothing specific holding up the deal. Matt Dryberg says it's a complicated transaction and there are a number of details still to be finalized. True North President Jim Ludlow released a statement yesterday saying the time is needed to complete reviews and get the necessary approvals. City Council will vote on the extension tomorrow. Premier Wab Kinew says he supports the extension. Liberal MP Dan Vandal says he's reviewing their request. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Ottawa is reopening a portion of Newfoundland and Labrador's cod fishery. It was shut down due to commercial fishing, former commercial fishing more than 3 decades ago because of dwindling stocks. The federal government is calling it the end of the cod moratorium. In fact, the quota is set at 18,000 tons, a fraction of what it was before the ban. Scientists have now reassessed the state of the northern cod stock from critical to cautious. With an out-of-control wildfire approaching, the hydroelectric plant in Churchill Falls, Labrador, is now being monitored closely and remotely.
Certainly not ideal. It hasn't been done before, but that is what we're hoping that we should be able to do with implementation of this remote monitoring and very little remote operation ability.
That's Jennifer Williams, the president of Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro. The last remaining employees at the facility have been ordered to leave. Fire officials say the blaze jumped the Churchill River yesterday, tripping 2 transmission lines. That knocked out power to Labrador City and the neighboring town of Wabush. Labrador City is drawing backup power from Quebec, but the neighboring town is still in the dark. The day after more than 20 protesters were killed storming the Parliament buildings, the president of Kenya is withdrawing his government's controversial finance bill.
I concede, and therefore I will not sign the 2024 finance bill, and it shall subsequently be withdrawn.
That is William Ruto speaking earlier today in Nairobi, the capital. The bill, which touched off days of violent protests, included a series of tax increases critics believed unfairly targeted low-income families. Ruto says the revenue the taxes would have generated will be made up through austerity measures. The union representing WestJet mechanics have issued another strike notice saying they could walk off just as early as Friday, walk off the job. Last week, the union called off strike plans when the two sides agreed to return to negotiations. Union members voted overwhelmingly to reject a tentative deal earlier this month. And finally, a voice heard across Manitoba for many decades has gone silent.
I'm going to Jackson. I'm going to mess around. Yeah. I'm going to Jackson. Look out, Jackson Town.
That's Ray St. Germain and Anne Murray from the 1960s CBC television show In Person, covering Jackson by Johnny and June Carter Cash. St. Germain's wife, Glory, confirms he passed away yesterday after battling Parkinson's for many years. She says she was blessed to have had 50 years with Ray. She says together they spent their lives filled with music, love, and laughter with their 5 children. His death comes just weeks after a St. Vital Street in Winnipeg was given the honorary name Big Sky Country Way after his TV show. Ray St. Germain was 83 years old. And he'll play us out, too. In Winnipeg, mostly sunny today, a high of 22 degrees. In Brandon, clearing skies, a high of 22. In Dauphin, sunshine, a high of 21. Flin Flon, a chance of showers or storms, a high of 21. Thompson, mainly cloudy, a chance of thunder, a high of 19. And in Churchill, a high of 19 with a chance of showers.
Hello, my friends. Thanks for joining us today for Radio Noon. My name is Janet Stewart. Okay, given a choice, where will you plunk your lawn chair? Sun or shade? We want to hear why in today's call-in conversation. A dermatologist clears up untrue TikTok tales about sunscreen so we can stay safe wherever we sit. That's in our second half hour. June is a busy month for the chair of the new Manitoba Pride Alliance, supporting Pride events around the province. Hear her reaction to the latest report of Pride-related vandalism at 12:15. But first, no charges will be laid in Manitoba's deadliest crash. Radio Noon begins with the explanation behind that decision. Manitoba RCMP and the Crown Prosecution Service held a news conference this morning to announce that no criminal charges will be laid in connection with last year's deadly bus crash near Carberry. 17 people died because a bus collided with an oncoming semi. RCMP Superintendent Rob Lasson said investigators and Crown attorneys met with families of the victims yesterday to explain this decision and to answer their questions. And then Crown attorney Chris Vanderhooft took the podium to reveal more of what the investigation uncovered.
On June 15, 2023, the driver of the bus, employed by Quality Care Transit, was transporting 24 passengers from Dauphin to the Sandhills Casino near Carberry. 17 passengers died due to that collision. The bus driver was hospitalized with a traumatic brain injury. At 11:32 a.m. on June 15th, the bus driver was traveling southbound on Highway 5. As he approached the intersection of Highway 1, he came to a stop at the stop sign to allow westbound traffic to pass. He then proceeded across the westbound lanes of Highway 1 into the median that had a yield sign. He continued across the eastbound lanes of Highway 1, driving across the path of the oncoming semi-truck. The semi-truck had dashcam video. The video was consistent with the description provided by the driver. He attempted to avoid the collision, but the bus driver did not appear to see the semi-truck coming. The driver of the semi-truck was not speeding, driving erratically, and clearly had the right of way. Transport Canada and the RCMP collision reconstructionists conducted investigations into the collision and determined that the bus driver would have had 3 separate blind spots that contributed to the bus driver not seeing the semi-truck. The 10-second video obtained from the semi-truck, along with the scene evidence and examination of the bus, demonstrated that the right front corner of the bus passenger cabin clearly played a significant role in the collision. Specifically, the bus left the stop sign to cross the westbound lanes of Highway 1 10.5 seconds prior to the collision. At this time, the semi-truck was 318 meters west of the impact location and completely within the area obscured by the structure between the passenger loading door and the small right window. The bus passed the yield sign in the center median approximately 3.5 seconds prior to the impact. At this point, the truck was approximately 100 meters west of the impact location and remained hidden in the same obscured area between the passenger loading door and the small right window. The bus then traversed the solid yellow line on the left side of the eastbound through lanes approximately 2 seconds prior to the impact, when the semi-truck was approximately 52 meters west of the impact location. Visibility of the truck remained in the same obscured area. The RCMP collision analyst confirmed the information that there were blind spots and that the bus had only been in operation with Quality Care Transit for about a month prior to the collision. There were no mechanical defects with the bus. One witness on the bus said that the bus driver was on his cell phone prior to the collision. RCMP investigators obtained search warrants for the phone and determined that the phone was not in use at the time of collision. The last outgoing phone call from the bus driver to the dispatcher was at 11:27:52 a.m. While there had been calls to his dispatch prior to the collision, there is no evidence that the phone was in use at the time of the collision or just prior to the collision. In terms of the medical evidence related to the bus driver, the RCMP also obtained medical records shortly after the offense and in the spring of 2024, after lengthy treatment and hospitalization of the bus driver. Those records confirmed that the bus driver had a major brain injury, underwent substantial rehabilitation efforts, and remains unable to care for himself or function without assistance in the community. He is not in a position to make his own decisions regarding his personal care or finances, and his condition is unlikely to improve based on the medical evidence that was obtained. The potential charges that were considered in this case were dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing death and dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing bodily harm. In this case, to make out the offense of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle, the Crown would have to show that the bus driver's actions were a marked departure from the standard of a reasonable person in similar circumstances. At the time of the collision, it is apparent from all of the evidence that the driver, due to the blind spots in that vehicle, and when he may have looked in that direction, did not see the semi-truck traveling eastbound. He did not hit the brakes, nor did he speed up to avoid the oncoming semi-truck. In the present circumstances, the bus driver stopped at the stop sign as he approached the westbound lanes of Highway 1. He then proceeded into the median where there was a yield sign and continued through the eastbound lanes of traffic. It is apparent from the dash cam video of the semi-truck that the bus driver did not see an oncoming vehicle in a matter of seconds. Therefore, the Crown would not be able to prove that the momentary inattention of the bus driver or failure to see the semi-truck, combined with the blind spots in the vehicle, constituted a marked departure from the standard of care of a reasonable bus driver in these circumstances. The available evidence would support the conclusion that the bus driver's conduct was not a marked departure from the standard of care in all of the circumstances. As there is no reasonable likelihood of conviction, there are no grounds to lay a criminal charge in this case.
This morning, why criminal charges will not be laid in connection with last year's bus crash near Carberry. It was the deadliest bus crash in Manitoba history, killing 17 people and leaving 8 others seriously injured.
Your local news at your fingertips.
CBC News has a local news app made for your phone or tablet.
So don't waste time scrolling for the local stories you want. Just download the app to get the information that matters to you when it happens
and how you want it.
Another way to get your local news. The CBC News app. Download it today.
It is 12:16. You're listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1, which you can listen to on your radio at 89.3 FM, 990 AM, or anywhere on your CBC Listen app, or on YouTube. Just search for CBC Manitoba, and we're right there under live streams. Hey, by the way, you can always go back to that YouTube page and watch our call-in conversations anytime you want to after the show has aired. Coming up on today's call-in conversation, it starts with a simple premise. Okay, you're gathering on a patio with friends. Which table do you choose? The one in the sun or the one in the shade? Where do you want to be, sun or shade? We're talking to a dermatologist about sun safety, but let's start with the fun premise of where we'd like to be today after 12:30's newscast. In just a moment, we're going to talk about another Pride vandalism case. We're going to talk to the Manitoba Pride Alliance chair about the impact this kind of vandalism has. It's not the first time and probably not the last time something like this will happen. Right now, though, let's take a quick look at our forecast for Winnipeg. We're in for a mostly sunny day, getting up to 22 degrees as our high temperature. Tomorrow, we'll see the clouds moving in, and it'll become a mainly cloudy evening. Our high tomorrow will be 24 degrees. Friday looks like it's going to rain in the Red River Valley. 15 to 25 more millimeters coming in a high of 18 degrees. Riley Lachuk will join us after the 12:30 news to take a look at the entire province's forecast. The large, colorfully striped pride flag that flew over the Days Inn in Steinbach was meant as a sign of welcome to anyone who might be visiting that community. Roughly 36 hours before Steinbach's Pride March was held Sunday, Someone stole the flag and vandalized the pole that held it. Justin Schinkel of Schinkel Properties, which owns the Days Inn in Steinbach, provided a response to the act of vandalism in an email. He said in that email, "We are super proud to be part of the Steinbach community and to live in such a great place. We are saddened that a small number of people still aren't accepting." Steinbach Online reports staff at the hotel also received harassing phone calls and emails. Now, none of this is surprising to Jen Rands. She chairs the Manitoba Pride Alliance and is also Pride Winnipeg's vice president of Advocacy. She was in Steinbach last weekend. When we talked earlier this week, she told me what it was like to be there.
Steinbach had their annual Pride in the Park along with their Pride March. It was a beautiful day, beautiful weather, and it was amazing to see their community come out with lots of support from surrounding communities as well.
Did the fact that someone had stolen the Pride flag at the Days Inn impact people's mood?
It didn't seem to. So the unfortunate reality in some rural communities in Manitoba is that, things like this happen every single year. And they don't just happen around Pride season. They do, unfortunately, happen in the months to follow.
Why do you think that lingers?
You know what? It's just an unfortunate reality of how things are in rural Manitoba right now. There's especially in southern Manitoba, there's always the challenge from the folks that don't necessarily agree with, the 2S LGBTQ plus community and their want to, just live their lives and have the same, hopes and happiness as everybody else out there.
Now, you are specifically tasked, you've taken on this year, the extra job of helping support Pride celebrations in smaller Manitoba towns. How has that gone this season?
Yeah, so we formed the Manitoba Pride Alliance early this year with the support of some funding from the Manitoba provincial government. So what the Manitoba Pride Alliance is, it's essentially just a collective of pride organizers from all over the province. It gives us the opportunity to share knowledge, to meet, to learn from each other, to share struggles and successes, and to support other communities as well. There were several new Pride celebrations that popped up for the first time across the province this year. So the movement is growing, and it's really nice for organizers to have kind of a common place to meet and to work together on, growing the movement and making sure it's a positive experience and really giving the visibility to the 2S LGBTQ plus community in Manitoba.
Were there any other incidents of vandalism or negativity that you saw or experienced in Pride season this year in other communities?
Yeah, I mean, aside from, there's always a few flags that get vandalized or stolen. From a Pride Winnipeg front, we had a few things sent to our social media. Sometimes organizers, get threats of physical violence, either through social media or phone calls. I know in Pembina Valley Pride, they had their food truck vendors had to pull out last minute due to threats from community members against their businesses and their livelihoods for agreeing to participate in Pride events. So it definitely is a common thing, and it has kind of reared its ugly head over the last couple of years. I know we've had to increase safety and security initiatives at Pride celebrations, not just in the city, but in other areas of the province as well, just to ensure that, everyone is safe and that the events are held, in the safest manner possible.
What does this tell you about the importance of Pride events?
It just means that, Pride events are more important now than ever before. We still have a lot of work to do in terms of advocating for, visibility and equity and equality when it comes to our community, especially for folks that are in the trans community. They've been receiving, an exceptional amount of hate from certain folks in the community. So it's really important now that, we come together as organizers and as members of the community and for our allies to really come out and show their support. It's paramount.
We mentioned that one of the reasons that some areas might be considered areas where vandalism might occur against Pride events, that it could have at its core the strong religious beliefs that people have. Of course, we have people of faith throughout the province, and many of them would use that faith as a bridge to the community. That love that often faith brings out. Have you seen support grow as well?
Absolutely. I mean, when it comes to Pride celebrations, there's been, a ton of areas of the religious community that wholeheartedly support the Pride movement, and they don't see that as a place of division. They come out, they show their support, they're welcoming in their congregations to members of our community, and it's great to see, and there seems to be more and more acceptance every year.
Pride season I think of as June, and that month is wrapping up. Are there more events to come?
Yeah, I mean, there's events year round. So some communities have their Pride celebrations a little bit later in the summer and into the fall. Even though June is kind of traditionally Pride month, for folks in the community, Pride is 365 days a year. We don't stop celebrating who we are as individuals or as a community, and we just try to keep things going throughout the year.
Jen Rands, thank you for your time today.
Absolutely.
Jen Rands is the chair of the Manitoba Pride Alliance. We have breaking news on CBC at the moment. A neighborhood in Winnipeg's east side, we're talking about Transcona, has been rocked by a home explosion. It happened around 11:15 this morning in the Transcona, the Transcona area. The house we're talking about is on Camrose Bay off of Coldstream Avenue. Now, the Winnipeg Police Service tells us that they are going to be holding a news update about this, some sort of news conference at 12:45. So here on Radio Noon, we're going to take you to that live in 20 minutes' time. If you'd like to see the latest pictures on this, we've been running them on our CBC Manitoba YouTube page, and also you'll find the latest on our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba, and coming up in your 12:30 newscast. We have sad news that we've learned today. Métis musician and Winnipeg icon, Manitoba icon, Ray St. Germain has died. He was known for a decades-long career as a country artist and a television host once called Manitoba's Elvis. His work garnered many awards, including the Order of Manitoba and a spot in the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame. Here's a piece of his long legacy, a tune from his 2003 album My Many Moods. This is Ray St. Germain with I'm Mighty Proud, I'm Métis.
I was born on the plains beneath the half-moon sky, roamed o'er the lands on my mama's back. My daddy European, my mama's swampy Cree, and I'm mighty proud I'm Métis. Daddy taught me French, mama she spoke Cree. So I talk my chief, a little mix of both. From the time I learned to walk, that's all that I could talk. And I'm mighty proud I'm Métis. Deep inside I know that I am special. I am my mama's side and daddy's too. I am the best of both. You'll always hear me boast that I'm mighty proud I'm Métis. Mama realized a nation it was born, a nation that would rise. We were in between. I have my daddy's looks, my sister lovely Cree, and we're mighty proud we're Métis. river bend. It'll be a long, long road. You'll carry a heavy load. I am my mama's side and daddy's too. I am the best of both. You'll always hear me boast that I'm mighty proud. I'm Métis. Yeah, I am the best of both. You'll always hear me boast that I'm mighty proud. I'm
The great Ray St. Germain with I'm Mighty Proud, I'm Métis. The country star and Manitoba icon died yesterday. He was 83 years old.
Availability here at quarter two.
Still
Gonna be here? Okay.
Take you live to a news conference being held in Transcona today. The city of Winnipeg will provide an update on the house explosion in Transcona that we're just learning about. The deputy chief with fire rescue and operations and training with the Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service is the one we understand who will be speaking. Therefore, we're going to hold our conversation about sun safety and sunscreen myths and untruths that may be circulating on social media for another day. Stay tuned. The very latest on a breaking news situation is coming up on Radio Noon. It's 12:30.
This is CBC News. We're at 16 degrees with mostly cloudy skies over downtown Winnipeg. Good afternoon. I'm Matt Humphrey. We are following developing news this hour. Winnipeg emergency crews are at the scene of a house explosion in Transcona. It happened on Camrose Bay this morning. Firefighters are working to put fires out at neighboring homes. People are advised to avoid the area until further notice. Details are thin at this time. We'll have more information for you when we have it. No charges will be laid against the bus driver involved in the fatal bus crash which killed 17 people near Carberry last year. RCMP and Crown Prosecutor Chris Vanderhoof spoke about the investigation this morning. The bus was transporting seniors from Dauphin when the driver crossed the Trans-Canada Highway at Highway 5 into the path of an eastbound semi-trailer. Vanderhoof says blind spots within the vehicle were a factor.
It is apparent from all of the evidence that the driver, due to the blind spots in that vehicle, and when he may have looked in that direction, did not see the semi-truck traveling eastbound. He did not hit the brakes, nor did he speed up to avoid the oncoming semi-truck.
Vanderhoof says the driver of the bus suffered a traumatic brain injury as a result of the crash and can no longer care for himself. He says there's no evidence the driver acted in a criminal manner and no charges are recommended. A former Liberal member of Parliament says he's considering a bid to replace Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as the Liberal Party leader after federal Conservatives won a by-election in the Liberal stronghold of Toronto St. Paul's. Rafi Boudjikanian reports.
Frank Baylis is not a totally unknown quantity.
The Liberal Party has a 3-point plan to help the economy.
In 2015, the wealthy businessman and longtime Liberal Party member ran in Pierrefonds Dollard, a Montreal riding that typically votes for the Grits. He won, but quit after only one term. Now he's considering a comeback on a bigger stage, leadership of the party.
A number of people are asking me to think about this, and I'm taking their request seriously.
Two Liberal MPs who would not speak publicly tell CBC News they've heard his name thrown around as a potential candidate. Baylis says he will wait and see what Trudeau's next steps are.
Prime Minister Trudeau will decide what he wants to do if and when he decides to do that.
No sitting Liberal MP has publicly said they'd want to run for leadership or that it's time for Trudeau to step down. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
And as of today, Mark Rutte has been formally appointed the next Secretary General of NATO. Rutte will take over from Jens Stoltenberg. He's scheduled to leave office in October. Rutte, the outgoing Dutch Prime Minister, will be in charge of the world's largest security organization as Russia continues to wage war with Ukraine. And that's your CBC News from Winnipeg.
Thank you so much, Matt Humphrey.
Back soon.
Yes, Matt will be back soon, I'm sure, as we follow a breaking news situation that we're going to take you live to a news conference that's happening at 12:45. That's 12 minutes from now. As soon as it begins, we'll take you there live. Right now, let's talk about our weather forecast. We are heading into a long weekend, and it's Dauphin Country Fest this coming weekend.
Yes, it is, Janet.
So Riley Lachuk joins us now. He's, of course, our CBC Manitoba weather specialist to take a look at what could be shaping up for this important weekend.
Going to be a busy weekend. Not only is it Country Fest in the Dauphin region, but also the fair in Dauphin happening that weekend as well. So we're looking at very busy weekend ahead. And, you know, in true Country Fest fashion, if you've ever been, you know it's not Country Fest unless there's rain. At least one day.
Well, that's the true meaning of country,
exactly,
like cowboy hats and those boots, right? They keep you dry.
Prepare for mud, at least. So gates open tomorrow. We're looking at a pretty sunny day tomorrow, some clouds building in through the afternoon. Once we get into the weekend, though, we're looking at Friday rain on and off through the day. To the tune across southern Manitoba, generally 15 to 25 millimeters. Very quickly clears out, though. So by Saturday, we're back into a mainly sunny sky, 19 degrees in Dauphin, 23 for Sunday with a sunny sky. And looking ahead to Monday, fairly good chance we could see a few more showers rolling through sort of the western part of the province through Monday. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But prepare at least for Friday for a little bit of rain, maybe a few rumbles of thunder on the Monday portion as things are kind of wrapping up. All right, stepping back to today, mainly sunny skies across the province right now. Just a little bit of thin, high-level cloud really across the province. Otherwise, we're under a mainly sunny sky at the moment, and that's what we're kind of keeping as we get through the day today. Mainly sunny skies. Not a lot to talk about, even as we get into Thursday. Not a lot to talk about till we get to say about the lunch hour. Then we start to see some clouds building in. This ahead of an area of low pressure that will pack a bit of a punch as it kind of skirts along the international border. So Thursday, 9:30 p.m., the rain starting through the western part of the province, some heavier pockets into southwestern Manitoba. In Winnipeg, that doesn't start till we get into the overnight hours. By 6 o'clock in the morning, sort of that first push of rain kind of moves out of the Winnipeg region back to a mainly cloudy sky, but we'll see the wraparound from that. So a few more showers as we get through the rest of Friday. So not a steady rain in the Winnipeg region, but we are looking at sort of showers and some light rain on and off as we get through the day. Looking at some of the forecast modeling, generally I'm saying about 15 to 30 millimeters across southern Manitoba. I know our in-house modeling is suggesting that we could see up to 50 in some places in the Red River Valley. I think that is a little bit on the high side. I think generally in Winnipeg, I've got us in that 15 to 25 millimeter range by the time we get sort of to the end of Friday here. Today's forecast, 21s for southwestern Manitoba, Brandon, Dauphin, Verdun, Melita. 22 is what I have Winnipeg at today. 19 in Gimli and a mainly sunny 18 this afternoon in Thompson. 24 for tomorrow. I've got 18 with that rain moving through on Friday. Also watch for the winds on Friday, northeast gusting to 60. A few showers Saturday morning, tapering off to a mainly sunny afternoon. Sunday's looking mainly sunny, and Canada Day, Janet, chance we could see maybe a couple of showers, more likely a thunderstorm through the late afternoon.
Just because of the heat and the instability?
Yes. I mean, more instability. Temperature at 22 degrees, so not necessarily the heat, but there will be enough moisture in the air that we could see a few thunderstorms.
Thank you for watching this for us, Riley.
No problem.
Riley Lachuk will be back cheering up to speed this afternoon. Airs between 3 and 6 p.m. here on CBC Radio 1, on your CBC Listen app and your CBC News app. And then, of course, Riley will also be on our television newscast and our YouTube newscast. You can watch anytime on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search CBC Manitoba, and you'll find us there. Right now, if you go there, you'll see that we're just getting ready to go to a news conference being held in Transcona. Right now, you can see the camera is moving around because we're just setting it up, trying to figure out what, grab close-ups of the action that's happening while we wait for someone from the fire paramedic service to explain what's happened. What do we know so far about this house that exploded today near the intersection of Camrose Bay and Coldstream Avenue in Winnipeg? That's in the area, the neighborhood we call Transcona. We'll take you there live as soon as it begins. But first, every generation, as you know, has a name. Boomers, Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z, or Z, as we should say in Canada. And the newest generation, Gen Alpha. Each generation is labeled or marked by another generation in some way in popular culture, sometimes for something trivial, sometimes for something serious. CBC's Jason Osler explains why socks are the latest wedge point in generations and why we like to label them anyhow.
This summer, if someone sees you wearing ankle socks, apparently it means you're of a certain age. At least that's the buzz on social media.
What is one thing that would indicate that you're in your 30s?
Ankle socks.
Gen Z is trying to cancel us for wearing ankle socks.
You want to identify millennials in the gym, just look for people that aren't wearing crew socks.
Yes, the humble crew sock is now a sign that you're part of Gen Z. Sean Lyons knows this because he was recently informed by his teenage son. He's Associate Dean of Research and Graduate Studies at the Gordon S. Lang School of Business and Economics at the University of Guelph. Lyons has been studying generational differences for over 25 years and says fashion has a lengthy history as a marker.
It's a way that people visually demarcate who is young and who is old. Blue jeans in the 1950s and 60s was a thing that really upset older people.
But these days, Lyons says there's a lot more than fashion used to label age cohorts.
I'm seeing sort of a doubling down of these generational markers over time. I really think that social media has a part to play in the increased attention that we see to generational labels.
Lyons says memes and terms spread like wildfire now, and it helps quickly embed generational markers in popular culture. Remember when OK Boomer was commonly used a few years ago and even became a song?
Okay, boomer, okay, boomer, okay, boomer.
It was a shorthand term equivalent to a dismissive eye roll directed at anyone who's part of the baby boomer generation, the connotation being that you're old and out of touch with reality. But pop culture also plays with boomers fighting back. For example, this commercial out of Australia for Lamb went viral and shows generations yelling at each other across giant chasms in the earth.
I wonder how they're going over there.
Yeah, bloody Gen Zs.
Just remember, we're the ones that invented your precious World Wide Web.
Sean Lyons says there's often a negative connotation or tone when one generation labels another.
The reason why we label is to be exclusionary in a lot of ways. We're almost hardwired, I believe, to focus on difference, because difference is the thing that might be the most threatening to us.
Lyons says generational labeling really got rolling when the baby boomers were young, a post-war time when life became steadier and people also began living full lives.
We've had more stability in the 20th and 21st centuries, so it's a lot easier for us to notice these subtle things happening relative to the past, where people didn't even live long enough on average to look back at generations and say, oh, these kids today really are different in these ways.
Susan McDaniel says there's an even deeper psychological reason behind it as well. She's an adjunct professor of sociology at the University of Victoria who's studied intergenerational relations, cohort change, and how generations connect over time.
The notion of fear of aging sort of builds into this because your fear is you will become like them, and them is the older generation, and people don't want that.
McDaniel says we've arrived at a point where it's not okay to label people because of their race or sexual orientation, but it's still okay to label someone because of the year they were born.
And in some ways, the whole Gen X, Gen Z, boomer thing is an ageist label phenomenon. And we don't see it that way. We see that that's okay. But these other labels are not okay. And I think that it's equally not okay to label people in that way.
McDaniel says while something like your fashion sense can be good fun, labels that generalize people's personality traits or values can be hurtful and lead to people thinking,
and I'm not like that. I feel isolated. I'm on the edge. And so it affects your mental health. You feel negatively about yourself.
While McDaniel would like to do away with labels altogether, she says they aren't going anywhere and agrees that social media is the major catalyst now. Whether it's the food you eat, the way you speak, or even the socks you wear, we're all labeled in one way or another. For CBC Radio, I'm Jason Osler.
I'm Janet Stewart. It's 12:42. You're listening to Radio Noon. In 3 minutes, or as soon as the city begins its planned news conference about the house that has exploded in Transcona, we are going to take you there live. Right now, let's hear a little bit of music from Madeline Roger. This is Love Only Grows.
supposed to do with you, my old lover, my old lover? Did we walk away forever? Are we returning? Are we returning? My love only grows. My love doesn't know what to do about you. We still talk and talk for hours. What are you dreaming? What are you dreaming? And if you're in a world of trouble, I will come running. I will come running. My love only grows. My love doesn't know what to do about you. Do you think of us together in the future? In the future. There will never be an answer. Let me down easy. I'll let you down easy. My love only grows. My love only grows. My love only grows. My love doesn't know what to do about you.
Madeline Roger with a beautiful song, Love Only Grows.
The rise of digital music has changed the rules of the game.
Who's in charge of what we listen to when we don't choose it for ourselves?
Find out who benefits, who gets to pick the winners and the losers.
The market has become really flooded with so much new music.
Take a closer look at what's really going on in today's music industry. Watch the new documentary, Big Music, on CBC News Explore. Stream free on CBC Gem and CBC News app.
It is 12:47. I'm Janet Stewart. We are going to take you live to a news conference in Transcona about a house that has exploded there just as soon as it begins. The house is near Camrose Bay and Coldstream Avenue, and the city of Winnipeg is asking people motorists specifically to avoid that area. Again, we're talking about Camrose Bay and Coldstream Avenue in Transcona. Right now, let's talk about ticks because they're really a bother for a lot of people and a worry this time of year. When we think of ticks, we often think of Lyme disease. For years, experts have warned us to watch out for tick bites as the insects could possibly pass along that disease to us or to our pets. But there's another tick-borne illness that's becoming more of a concern called anaplasmosis. Vet Lloyd is a biology professor and tick expert at Mount Allison University.
Anaplasmosis is a tick-borne disease. It is caused by the bacteria called Anaplasma. Because it's present in ticks, the bacteria is normally in wildlife, and we don't know really what it does to wildlife, but also people mostly don't care if we have wild mice that are sick. The problem is when the tick takes blood from wild animals and then afterwards bites a person or a pet, then they can transfer those pathogens, the disease-causing bacteria. Our bodies are not used to that bacteria, so it's not particularly good. Some people are asymptomatic, so they just don't notice. Some have very mild illness, sort of flu-like. The severe outcomes are appreciably worse. You have kidney involvement, anemia, internal bleeding. In severe cases, that leads to shutdown of your internal organs, and that goes really badly. That's true for dogs and humans. So for your pets, flea and tick medication is a must for your comfort as well as their comfort and their safety. For us, bug spray is a great idea. If you pick a bug spray that works against ticks, you're saving yourself from mosquito bites and tick bites to some extent. And tick checks. End of the day, at some point you're going to take your clothes off. Have a look at yourself in the mirror at the same time. What you're looking for is a freckle, but a freckle with legs. Your freckles are not supposed to have legs. So if you see that, getting it off you quickly and then seeking out a healthcare provider to tell them about it will save the potential of a very serious illness.
That's Vet Lloyd, a biology professor and tick expert at Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick. Now, let's listen in to a police news conference in.
We've had a significant catastrophic explosion of a residence on this street with damage to adjacent homes and structures. We're continuing to completely put out the fire and mitigate that. We're still working with Winnipeg Police to identify the potential location occupants of the home of origin.
Any word on any injuries right now?
We have no report of injuries in any of the surrounding structures. Again, we are still trying to ascertain the location of the occupants of the home that was involved in the explosion.
So it was only one residence that was part of the explosion, or?
It appears that one residence was involved in an explosion, catastrophic damage to that home, and we had significant fire and structural damage to adjoining structures.
And so right now, are you saying you don't know if people were home or not in that home?
We are still trying to ascertain if people were home at that time. We're working with the Winnipeg Police Service to try and ascertain that. It's difficult to tell at this time.
Any indication on what might have caused the explosion?
We are way too early at this time to ascertain what that would be. There is, obviously it was a catastrophic explosion, so we're going to be having to wait and go through the investigation process.
Was there any construction or anything going on in the area?
I'm not aware of any at this time, but again, that's what we're working with the police and our investigators on right now.
This might be too early too, but there's a Shell station near the house. Would that be something that could have been related?
I really don't know at this point. It would seem that this is related to the residential area specifically at this point. So we don't have any risk to the community beyond this that we're aware of at this time.
Approximately how many neighbors or other residents were evacuated from the neighborhood?
We haven't evacuated too many people. There was people evacuated from some nearby homes, but otherwise we've managed to shelter in place a number of them. There are a few homes that will not be occupiable at the end of this, and we'll work with those residents on any required support services.
Of the other homes that were damaged, was anybody home in those homes?
There was some minor damage to some homes on the surrounding homes that people were home evacuated from, but there was no inhabitants of the homes with the most significant damage.
At what time was WFPS made aware of the explosion event today?
I don't have the exact dispatch time in front of me, unfortunately.
11:19.
11:19.
Do you have a number of how many homes were affected in terms of ones that will be damaged?
We're still looking at it. There is potential structural damage quite significantly across the street, surrounding homes, and in behind with the garages and structures around the home of that had the explosion. So they're still investigating that, but there is a number of structures that are going to be significantly damaged.
And I take it this is not something that you folks are going to get an explosion on residential neighborhood.
It's not common at all, obviously. So I mean, we've had them before. We've had explosions like this in the past, every so often, but it's certainly not a common occurrence. No.
When you have had explosions like this, what have been some of the causes?
It varies greatly. It would be hard to comment at this time.
Can you name one or two?
No, not right now. Okay. Okay. Thanks, guys.
To Scott Wilkinson. He is a deputy chief with the Fire Rescue Operations and Training Division of the Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service. He was giving us what the investigation knows now, which is very little, about what happened today. A house exploded in Transcona, a neighborhood in North Winnipeg. If you go to CBC Manitoba's YouTube page, you can see footage from the scene that our camera people are shooting. Completely flattened, nothing but boards. And you'll see flame on the neighboring home, which obviously caught fire. It seems to be startling that the homes so close to ground zero of this explosion are still standing. But as you heard Scott Wilkinson say, there is likely severe structural damage to other buildings in the area. We're going to be following the story for you, of course, today. Join us for our CBC newscasts every hour here on CBC Radio as well. You can follow us along. Breaking news. We'll update you with information as soon as it becomes available on cbc.ca/Manitoba. Right now, it is 12:56. Let's enjoy more of that song we were playing for you, Indian City, from their new album called Tomorrow. This is The Best.
But there's still some things that I'm pretty great at. Yeah, I can safely say I ain't bragging when I say that. When it comes to loving you, I'm better than the rest. When it comes to loving you, I'm easily the best. When I was young, I used to be the life of the party. And all those 80s rock stars had nothing on me. But now, not so much. Not so much. But there's still some things that I'm pretty great at. Yeah, I can safely say I ain't bragging when I say that. When it comes to loving you, I'm better than the rest. When it comes to loving you, I'm easily the best. I'm pretty great at. Yeah, I can safely say I ain't bragging when I say that. When it comes to loving you, you can put me to the test. When it comes to loving you, I'm easily the best. When it comes to loving you, you can put me to the test. When it comes to loving you, I'm easily the best.
Indian City, their first new album since the death of the band's frontman Vince Fontaine, who wanted them to continue their work, and they've done this with this album, Tomorrow. We continue our work here at CBC Radio, keeping you up to date with the latest on the explosion in Transcona in our next newscast. Right now, I want to thank everyone who helped us bring this show together. Remember to go to CBC Manitoba's YouTube page to see the very latest photos and video. Thank you for joining us for Radio Noon today. Join us tomorrow. Thanks for joining us today. Join us again tomorrow.
Well, there's no smoke or anything, so we said that.
We live right over. Yeah, she lives right on the corner here. Yeah, I live in the corner home. No, we were at the doctors, and so all we got was hysterical messages. That we had 2 6-month-old puppies locked in kennels in the basement. So it was very dramatic when I walked up because I was screaming, "If you don't go in that house and get my dogs, I will go in there." And I convinced one of the police officers to go in and get my puppies and bring them out. Then one wouldn't come because she was scared, so I ran through and hooked her up. And so we've got the dogs safe. Now my cat is still in there, so I'm still nervous about that. Yeah, but it seems okay. They shut the gas off, so I'm hoping everything will be okay there now. Sure, they'll, I've got debris all over my room. But that's the least of my concerns when these poor folks live like that. Used it 3 times. Okay. Oh, don't. Yeah. My name's Olivia. Would you guys be interested? And the new floors we put in, and the new furniture. My daughter will have a conversation. Yeah, she loves seeing her. Honestly, I would love to hear that and like to get pictures of her. Oh, sure. Yeah. I'll guys would be like you can get a shot of the street before they can come out. Sure. Sure. Brandy and Brooklyn. No. He was at work. I said to him, "You need to get home right now!" Screaming like a psychopath. I'm like, "The dogs are locked in the basement." Now I've got the dogs in my girlfriend's backyard eating bones and drinking water. So I'd have to get pictures for you and give them to you. Yeah. Thank you. I do. Of course I do. I know I have a million. They're 6 months old. I have pictures of them all the time. Yeah. It's nice to have some puppies that like exactly. But they got out. But I was like. So can you tell us what they said to you? Because it sounded like our puppies. Then I don't want to talk to you. It wasn't crazy. Pardon? Like all the pups are on their way there anyway. They could just arrest them.
Owning a house there or whatever. Are they? Oh yeah.
We don't know him personally. I don't know him personally, but I know there's no nonsense. And apparently they've seen him leave this morning, so I'm hoping he went.
Me, Ken, and Pete.
Well,
window go in. They beat him right over the 10 to 15 minutes before it broke open.
Yeah, no. I don't know what. Oh,
you did your job. I want one of those.
I'm for sure there was a gas leak. It could explode about it. It's just like miles away. I'm the one that, yeah. People that are here now. Yeah. I would have been home. I was a little stuck.
Where's the white one on this side?
The blue. The one right there with no roof? That one.
Oh.
That's their house, yeah. Mom and Dad's house.
Yeah, they love it.
You got it okay.
Yeah. I wasn't there. He was there. They just redid the whole house too. Yeah. Yeah, that's Carl.
Yeah, and he was home.
Did you see the one? Yeah, he was excited. They run over.
Yeah.
Okay, look at this.
So you said that's the white one. The white one is no roof.
It's coming to Terry Daly. Already? I don't know. There's a loader there. Well, there's a loader there.
They'll open the wall up and they'll make sure that they'll cool it down.
Nothing in this, Bill. Oh, they're gonna. No, they're not.
They'll probably, because there's a hole in the side of the house, they'll probably pull it down so they can.
What house are we talking about? My house. Oh my God, you guys!
Well, it doesn't matter. It's some total loss.
Yeah.
If it's fire and it's like that, they'll tear it down.
Oh, well, I have an extra bedroom. Oh, we're back. I keep thinking puppies. I don't know if you want to live with them. Oh, well, there you go. Okay. They're going in my house. Get out of the way. They're not even telling you?
No, well, that's the safety.
Oh.
Because, you know, like, fires can be smaller.
Do you have animals? You don't have any animals? No. Okay. Thank God. Yeah. That would be my biggest thing is where's my cat? We do have,
No,
yeah.
just me. Or just me.
Yeah, he's animal enough for me. I think they just went into the house crowd. I think they just went into the house. Yeah, they got the door open there.
I'm surprised we don't know stuff. Yeah.
Sorry.
My coworker Laura's husband Gordon works with her and texting. Yeah. One of those ones. Yeah. Just little Winnipeg things. But then all kinds of one
Let's walk off. Tomorrow. I gotta get to my dog. Firefighter said that it was in the basement. Go, girl! Just go! No, not ours.
The fire started in the basement. Oh, it started in the basement? I thought you said
In Eric's house.
No, we just lost our other dog last year, you know. And then I said, no, we just got those puppies.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out, won't we? I'm sure he.
Yeah, and that's the same with Mark. I do the same
But yeah, but he comes and goes, and like he's constantly. He hasn't come back. But you don't know what's in your garage. That's where he usually parks in the garage.
Oh, you're not going up still? No, Lisa works.
Okay.
Yeah, smoke alarm going on? Well, Lisa works. You left your hearing aids in there too? Wallet, everything. Wallet's replaceable, all that shit's replaceable. Guitars and amps? Exactly easy to get. Oh, all those guitars. Amps? My drums? My motorcycle? Blew the back window out of my trailblazer sitting on the street.
37, so that would have been
35.
Okay.
There's like the back of it there. It's still cold. Well, Kathy felt it on Kildare, because her house is on Kildare and Wood Lake. Friends of mine.
Kim Park said that they felt that there was people in their block.
On the 8th
You know where the ice cream place is on Bay Street?
55 plus. Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, over there. 8th floor. She felt it and heard it. The guy was here from Minnetonka. Said he opened his front part. Just as he opened it, boom, it slammed back in his face. Oh, it exploded. That I can say. Everything just, it blew me back in the garage. It blew the man door open and stuff came in like, I thought the barbecue blew up. Yeah. And then as I adjusted
I know.
Yeah, I just said that. And the guy from the news on
I was
Look
not
at the drone
home.
inside.
I rushed home to my
here
puppies
for
in the
him,
basement.
Put a half hour on
Right there on the corner.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, hi Jeff from CTV.
We're
I'm not
actually
camera ready yet.
okay, that's-
I'm talking to her too.
Well, we can just do it at the same
time. Okay.
Here, we're gonna make life easy and just.
Holy smoke. He was home. Maybe I should tell you the one guy that was home.
Well, we'll start with you. We'll make everyone else.
Okay.
So if you could just
Get my good angle.
I can take this off.
It's up to you, but
I wasn't even home. You guys, okay, you guys gonna cue me to questions here or what? Yeah, okay. Where do you want me looking? Holy, this is a lot. Brooklyn, you like the fame. Get in here.
I'll just stand here if you need backup.
You need okay.
How's everybody
Okay.
else? Are you guys ready?
give us 1 second. Sorry about that.
Come on, City News.
I know. Just a half step closer, a little closer to the
I'm just
microphone.
kidding.
Beautiful. I'm just gonna put it.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you so much. I guess just to start us off, if we're all ready, could you please tell us your first and last name and how we can spell that, please?
My name is Brandy Neves, BrandiNeves. This is my daughter, Brooklyn Neves.
Okay, you live on the corner 43?
I do, yes.
Okay, what you said you came running.
I was not home. I had just left for a doctor's appointment. When we got out of the doctor's appointment, we had about 100 calls and messages telling us that our house exploded. Thank God it was not our house that exploded. It was 4 houses over. However, I have 2 6-month-old puppies locked in kennels downstairs, so we were very, very worked up and in a mad panic to get home and just see what the situation was.
Do you know who lives there?
There is an old gentleman that lives there. We are all hoping that he left this morning. That's what somebody had said. We're hoping that nobody was in the house, but we are yet to be told for sure if that's the case.
What was your reaction?
Severe panic, because people from all over the city were messaging me and just saying, we heard about it, and I thought, how big is this? My neighbor had called me and she was hysterically screaming, telling me I need to get home immediately. The houses had exploded and that they were evacuating everybody from our street. And we had just lost our family dog a year ago, so we're huge animal lovers. And me having my 2 6-month-old puppies in the basement, me and my daughter were in complete shock and panic, probably speeding home as fast as we could just to hopefully find them okay, which we did, thank God.
And so, thankfully your dogs ended up being okay.
Yes.
Were you allowed into your house to go get your dogs out?
No, but when we got here, I found one police officer who was an animal lover and understood what I was going through because I was pretty hysterical. I could see my house. I knew the door was open, and I was just praying anybody could go in there and go downstairs and get them. I eventually convinced him to do so. He got them into the yard, but one of the puppies is scared, and so she wouldn't come to him. So I did have to make my way through the police officers and the firemen to go to the yard to get my dog. They didn't want me to, but I wasn't going to leave her there. So, yeah, they're safe, thank God. Now we're just hoping that everybody else is safe.
Do you know the old gentleman very well?
Just to say hi or wave as he goes by, but we're not overly close with them. Very close with the rest of my neighbors who are all standing out here, and some of them were home and got thrown back and thrown to the ground. Some were showing me pictures of their house, how 100-pound mirrors were thrown off the walls, and so it was quite the explosion. I've heard from friends that live probably 2 miles away and they felt it at their house. I'm kind of glad I wasn't home because I think I would have really had some PTSD from this, but in the end, I'm happy that everybody seems to be safe. They've got the gas turned off now, so hopefully we'll get to go back in at some point.
I don't know if there was any construction work.
It looked like there was work that was being done. Apparently there was some work being done on the next bay over. Normally I'm out and about and kind of wandering the yard in the morning, but I wasn't today, so I didn't see how many work trucks were on our street. But there was a little bit of work being done. I'm not sure if it was gas work. Yeah, I'm sure all that will come out shortly.
Is there anyone else still in your house?
No, I have a cat. I convinced the firemen to open the back door, and hopefully the cat will just wander out on his own. But I feel a little bit better at this point now that the gas is turned off and they sort of have it under control. I'm praying my cat's fine.
I'm sorry, I could have misheard this, but you said there's a gentleman in that home. Is there anyone else that you know that could have been in that home?
No, I think it would have just been the older gentleman. Yeah.
Do you know his name?
I do not. They may know his name, but I don't know his name. No.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Sorry.
Anybody else?
And I can send you pictures. Yeah, you can.